Good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Zoning Hearing Board for March 12th, 2024. Can everybody please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sure. I'd like to introduce the board to you. To my left is Chris Kilmer. To his left is Nastasha Raisley. To my right is our solicitor, Keith Bidleymeyer. To his right is Aaron Mackey. To his right is Karen Browndorf. From the township, I have Matt Takita. I also have Diane Bure, and I have Ed Neubauer online. I also have Bill Kernan online. I think I've covered everybody. Okay.
Madam Chair, we received some correspondence in regards to some of the agenda items. If we can start with some of the continuances. For petition number 2, Jennifer Gagne and James, sorry, I'm going to mispronounce this, Pelissero, P-E-L-I-S-S-E-R-O, 8025 Mill Creek Parkway, Levittown, PA, 19054. The Township and the Board have received correspondence from applicant's attorney requesting a continuance until the April meeting. Their letter was dated March 12th. Again, it was received today by the Township and also the Zoning Hearing Board. So that matter would need a motion if the Board so pleases to continue the matter till the April meeting.
Do I have somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, continuance has been granted.
For petition number 3 on tonight's agenda, Laundry Properties, LLC, 316 through 320 West Trenton Avenue. Again, the Township and the Zoning Hearing Board received correspondence from applicant's attorney requesting a continuance until the April meeting, and that matter would also need a vote to continue the matter to the April 9th, 2024 meeting.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The continuance has been granted.
The last of the continuances, this is in regards to agenda item number 6, Al and Mary Episcopo, 8815 New Falls Road, Levittown, PA 19054. Again, the board and the Township received a letter from applicant's attorney requesting a continuance until the April 9th agenda. That matter would also need a vote to continue the matter to that April 9th meeting.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Continuance has been granted.
Some other matters before we start tonight's agenda. The Township and the Board received an extension request in regards to a previously approved matter. That was the Oak Village at New Falls Road, LLC, located at 9175 New Falls Road. Applicant and their attorney is requesting an extension request of that matter. That would need a vote.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I should have stated that extension request would be for 1 year from today's date.
Okay, do I have a motion for a year?
I'll make a motion to approve that for 1 year.
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
My apologies. Again, we have another extension request, Metals USA Plates and Shapes, 58 Cabot Boulevard. This matter was previously approved. Applicant is working through some issues and have not received their permits yet. That would be also for a 1 year extension. That would also need a vote.
Can I just ask a question before we vote on that?
Yes.
So I don't understand. They've been approved. What are they extending?
So you have 1 year to receive or to apply for and obtain your permits from the Township. They are still working through issues and they have not been able to receive those permits yet because of the whatever issues they're encountering.
But they're not looking for additional input or vote from us.
No, it's just to.
So why is it still on our docket then?
Yeah. So again, they from the approval from the board, they would have 1 year to get the permits from the Township. And if they don't receive it within that 1 year, they had to extend it or they lose them.
I see. Thank you.
All right.
All right, I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Petition number 1, Air Liquide Electronics, 19 Steel Road, West Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067, TMP number 13-047-159/number 13-047-160, zoned HI, requesting a dimensional variance to allow impervious surface coverage required, I guess you want me to say, section 209-29.g and table 5.
They just handed you that.
Okay. Ready? Madam Chair, if we can mark some exhibits for this, the application for a zoning ordinance appeal will be ZHB1, along with accompanying statement from Vandemark and Lynch, engineers, planners, surveyors, and that letter was signed by Michael Coyle. 2 will be 3 pages containing 3 color photographs, one of which shows the property was posted as required. 3 will be proof of publication, the Bucks County Courier-Times, showing this matter was published February 27th, and then again, March 5th, 2024. 4 will be notice to the applicant of tonight's meeting. 5 will be a set of plans. Have been previously provided certificates of service to the adjoining or abutting property owners. What I'll do is I'll mark that as A5. It looks like you left off with A4.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
okay?
that works.
Okay. So I'll mark the service, which are the certificates of mailing as A5. Now I'm satisfied the appropriate notice have been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Thank you. And if you have somebody who needs to be sworn in, who should present some testimony, can you please have them come in?
Sure. Mike? Yep. This is Michael Coyle.
Could you spell your first and last name?
Michael.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name's Julie Bernstein. I'm an associate with Kaplan Stewart, and we represent Air Liquide Electronics US LP in connection with their application to the Zoning Hearing Board seeking a variance from the impervious requirements that apply to the heavy industrial district in the Township's zoning code, so that Air Liquide can pursue their expansion plans and continue to do business at 19 Steel Road West in the Township. Given the scope of the application, just to make this a bit more efficient, if the board's amenable, I would like to proffer the testimony of Air Liquide's representatives, and we'll have them available for any additional questions afterwards. Okay. So I've just handed out to the board.
Can I ask you to pause just for a second? Can you make the microphone a little bit closer to you? I think there's a big air handler that's blowing right at us. So unfortunately, it's just hard to hear you, and I want to be able to hear you. So
No problem. Can you hear me now? Is that
Much
better?
better. Thank you.
Okay, great. So did you hear that I had just offered to proffer the testimony? Okay, so I've also just handed out some pre-organized exhibit packets to help serve as a guide. Just to quickly walk everyone through this, we have at the first tab, I think this might be a duplicate, but I just included a copy of the subject zoning application along with the hardship letter that was included with the application in the first instance. We're proposing to mark that as Exhibit A1. And then if you flip to Exhibit A2, I've included the CV for Air Liquide's engineer, Michael Coyle, who was just sworn in. He's of Van Mark and Lynch, which we're submitting to have marked as Exhibit A2. Mike's here tonight, as you can see, and if he were to testify and if he does answer any questions, I would like to offer him as an expert in civil engineering. As you can see from his CV, he has extensive experience in the field. He's also testified before boards such as this one in Pennsylvania. He's the engineer of record for Air Liquide's project for this property. And they have already received preliminary plan approval from the Township to pursue this plan if the relief here is granted tonight. So just to provide a bit more context, if you flip to tab 3, which we've also put up, although I might have touched something on the computer. Maybe not. Cancel. I've placed an aerial map just to help orient you as to where the property is located. It's in this red box at the corner of Steel Road and Newford Mill Road. It says Air Liquide on this plan, which is annotated. As you can see from the map, the property, it's located at that corner in the center of what's the township's heavy industrial zoning district, the HI district. The property is currently improved, which you can kind of already see from the aerial here, with 2 manufacturing buildings as well as a small administrative office that's currently being used by Air Liquide. The surrounding properties, as you can see, are largely improved with large industrial appearing buildings, and the only other use in the area is a sanitary landfill across from Newford Mill Road. If you then turn to what we have pre-marked as A4 at tab 4, we've included the record plan. This consists of 2 sheets and was prepared by Mike Coyle of Van Mark and Lynch, and it was last revised on February 21st, 2024. Again, we'd like to have this marked as A4, and this better shows the existing improvements, as I mentioned, the 2 buildings and the administrative office, as well as the proposed improvements for Air Liquide's expansion. So before I get into the details of the proposed improvements, I just want to quickly explain what Air Liquide does and what precipitated the expansion. So Air Liquide essentially manufactures like the building blocks for the electronics industry. So they just support the manufacture of semiconductor chips, flat panel displays, and solar panels. So as you've likely heard in the news, there has been a drive to expand this type of manufacturing in the U.S., and that's where the CHIPS Act has come from and is passing. So as a result of this drive, Air Liquide needs to expand its operations to meet this demand. And in order to do so, they have to expand the facilities that are located on this property. Otherwise, they would need to go seek another facility that could accommodate these needs. The record plan that we've included here shows their specific expansion plans. And again, as I mentioned, it already received preliminary plan approval from the township. And so as it showed, if you go up towards Steel Road, looking at it, what's kind of highlighted a bit more in a dark gray on the plan, you can see that they are proposing to improve the property with a new 1-story, 14,000 approximately square foot administrative building, a new 2-story command center and maintenance shop that's just shy of 10,000 square feet in footprint, and a new concrete pad for maintenance and cylinder storage. They also are showing to provide additional employee parking right near there, 35 new spaces. Then if you go to the southeast corner of the property, they are also proposing to develop a new 1-story, approximately 17,000 square foot manufacturing building. Additionally, the plan is proposing to correct some of the stormwater management issues that exist on the property and provide a new modern system. that would be able to manage runoff of up to 74% impervious coverage on the property, which is in excess of what they're showing or planning on doing after all of the improvements. And so if you turn to sheet 2, here we go. So at sheet 2, you can see there's a large stormwater. No, that's sheet 1. There we go. Here we go. We can see kind of to the left side of the plan is a very large stormwater management basin. There's also going to be a basin up at the northeast corner of the property that will provide this kind of management of any runoff that could happen after all of these proposed improvements. And the same permitted use that's currently there would continue after this. It's really an expansion of the existing kind of industrial manufacturing use that's there. It's permitted under the code. So all that we're looking for is, and why we're here tonight, is some relief from the code to allow for additional impervious. The heavy industrial district only allows for 50% impervious on the lot, and the existing conditions are really bumping up against that number. So in order to add or expand in any form or way, they are necessarily kind of exceeding that number. What is shown here right now is 56%, but as was referenced in the hardship letter, which we've attached as Exhibit A1, there is potential for some minor adjustments or expansion. So I would like to verbally amend the application because the notice states that we're asking for 56%, but the hardship letter did request for up to 60%. So going through the land development process, if any minor changes made to something that pushed it a little bit further, that we wouldn't have to come back again and seek, an additional 1% or something of that nature. And the stormwater management, again, as Mike can confirm, he did the calculations out, it would provide for if they had 74%, so far in excess of the amount of impervious on the property. And the township's engineer has also confirmed that the stormwater being provided for in this plan would more than manage what the proposed improvements are. So, again, so I would like to kind of verbally amend on the record or request to be in line with that letter. So we are hoping for a permit to allow for up to 60% of impervious coverage on the property. And then alternative, if you don't feel comfortable with that, we would retain the 56% as shown on the plan to allow the project to move forward. As you can see, if we flip back to this aerial, the proposed plan really is in line with this neighborhood. There are no residences in the area. It's going to have ostensibly no impact on the characteristic. It will continue to function and serve in a similar manner to the way it did before. They've been moving successfully through the land development process with very limited comments from the township at this point. So there's no anticipated negative impact on the health, safety, welfare of the township. And as you can kind of see, I don't know the specifics, but the neighboring properties do appear to have an excess of 50% impervious. And with the stormwater management that's being proposed, it's anticipated that the property's conditions will actually be improved as compared to the way they are right now, which has an older stormwater management system that doesn't kind of manage runoff the way that we think is necessary now in this day and age. So with that, I am going to leave it to the board. I would, if you have any other questions, but I would just like to ask Mike to come and see if he's heard everything that I've said, and if he has, if he would have testified, if this is generally the scope of the project and the scope of the relief that would be necessary to move forward.
Yes, I agree with everything Julie said regarding the project and the request and the need for the additional impervious to build out the scope of the project.
And so would you adopt my testimony as your own if you were speaking?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. If the board has any questions, I have no further questions.
Chris?
No, I'm good.
Natasha?
No questions.
Bill? Bill? Did you lose Bill? And while we're checking on Bill, Aaron?
Sure. Just a quick question. So some of the new buildings that are being built and the new retention basin, some of the existing impervious surface is going, let me phrase it as a question. Current impervious coverage is less than 50%.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay, so some of that impervious is going away, but some of it's going to be replaced by new impervious surface, which is building, but also some of it's going to be replaced by
That's correct.
some of the new basin.
Yeah,
Okay.
some of the existing asphalt, sorry about that. Some of the existing or asphalt is being replaced by, say, the new building, Building 4. So yeah, there's some replacement of new impervious
Yep.
with the old.
Okay, great. But
yeah.
so then the new total, having subtracted some, but then added some more, the new total is going to be 56.
Right, the
Plus or
original,
minus maybe a little bit.
Right.
No more than 60.
right. And the original impervious is at 45, the existing impervious.
Got
is
it.
45%. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Aaron asked my questions, so do I have a motion?
Township.
Sorry? Oh, that's right. I am so sorry. I keep forgetting the township. Is there something from the township? Thank you. Is there anything from the public? I don't see anybody. Now, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the application of Air Liquide Electronics requesting a dimensional variance from section 209-29.g and table 5 of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to allow up to 60% maximum impervious surface coverage where 50% is otherwise required at the property located at 19 Steel Road West, Morrisville, PA 19067, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Aaron, can you pull the board, please?
Sure. Bill,
Yes.
Nastasha,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Laney.
Yes, you've been granted.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Next, I have petition number 4, UFP Real Estate LLC, Sunbelt Forest Products, 400 Rock Run Road, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 19030, TMP number 13-028-062-003, Zone PIP, requesting the following dimensional variances to construct an addition to the existing production facility. Section 209-28.f in Table 5, to allow a side yard of 4 feet where 20 feet is required. Section 209-28.g, parentheses 2, to allow existing parking to remain and for a new building to be located within the 10-foot planned/vegetated buffer along a side property line. And Section 209-42.b, parentheses 1, to eliminate the requirements that a 10-foot wide buffer of clustered plant material be maintained between existing off-street parking and the side property line.
Madam Chair, if we can mark some exhibits, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying hardship letter. 2 will be 4 4 pages containing 4 color photographs, one of which shows the property was posted as required. 3 will be notification to Mr. Duffy, applicant's attorney, of tonight's meeting. 4 will be proof of publication, the Bucks County Courier-Times, showing this matter was published February 27th, and then again, March 5th. 5 will be a set of plans. As all the board exhibits, Mr. Duffy has handed up some matters, including the affidavit of mailing. Mr. Duffy, all of the addresses listed have received the copy of the letter attached as Exhibit B. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. Since you've already marked, I'll mark this as A3, if that is acceptable.
Sounds good.
I'm satisfied the appropriate notices have been completed and this matter can proceed.
Thank you. Do you have somebody that you would like to have sworn in that's going to
Yes.
any type of testimony?
We do. We have both Matt Ross and Scott Mill.
Okay.
will be sworn.
You need to please state their name and spell it for them.
Matthew Ross, MattheWRoss.
Scott Mill, M-I-L-L.
Do you both swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Tim Duffy from Hill Wallach on behalf of the applicant. I have 2 witnesses, Matt Ross with Sunbelt Forest Products. He's going to give you a background about the company, what they do at the facility, and the reasons for which they need these variances. Scott Mill will testify as to more of the technical aspects of the plan and show you exactly where the dimensional variances are needed. Essentially, 4 small dimensional variances needed in order to allow the construction of an addition to a facility that has essentially been in place since the early 1980s. Matt? Matt, you're employed by Sunbelt Forest Products, correct?
Correct.
And what is your title?
Maintenance supervisor.
And are you generally familiar with the property and the
Yes.
operations at the property?
Yes, I am.
Okay. For how long has Sunbelt Forest Products operated at this facility?
At this facility, roughly about 3 years.
And exactly what do they do there?
We pressure treat wood.
And to your knowledge, how long has this property been used for the manufacturing of pressure-treated lumber?
Since at least 1984.
And this, the aerial photograph here, is that shows the property at issue?
Yes.
Okay. And just to orient, oh, it's what's that? Oh, okay, that's right. And is this the property at issue right here?
It is.
And we have the plans have been submitted. And this property is on Rockland Road, correct?
Correct.
And is that a public road or a private road?
It is a private road once it reaches our property.
Can you explain generally the pressure treating process? How does the lumber get
Sure.
treated?
So on, let me just get our mouse here. We can see this area, which would be the addition, currently is a parking lot. There is 2 80-foot, 85-foot roller systems that load an 80-foot charge of lumber onto it. The cylinder doors that are inside of this building here open up. There's 2 cylinders that are 80 foot long and 9 foot high. It gets pushed into the cylinders, filled with a liquid, pressurized till it gets to the correct pressure and the correct time, emptied. The cylinder doors on the other side are open, and then it's pushed into this building right here. And then it is taken off the rollers, and it is placed to stacked inside that building that's open on 2 sides to just dry. Once it's dry, it's loaded off and it's put into under the sheds that are in our area.
And that is the building that's right here, correct?
Correct.
And that's an existing building?
That is an existing building, yes.
Okay. And again, what are the size of the cylinders?
They're 2 80-foot long by 9 foot high.
And they're that size in order to accommodate lumber of a certain size?
Correct.
And for how long have those cylinders been located on the property?
Since at least 1984 that we have record of.
And are these cylinders, are they movable?
They are not. They were put in place and then the building was built around them.
So On the plan, is this the proposed building addition here?
Yes.
And can you explain what the purpose of that new building will be?
So currently, as I explained, the two roller systems that are right here, push into the cylinders and then out of the cylinders. With the proposed upgrade, to go with the times, so to speak, one cylinder will be pushed in, charged, and then pulled out of the same, while the other cylinder will be pushed in, pulled out the same way. So it's going to be able to double our drip pad capacity, so the wood can dry more efficiently than it does now.
And you said that the building in which the cylinders are located was built around the cylinders.
Correct.
And they're not movable.
They are not.
So therefore, is the new building addition, is its location basically mandated or compelled by the location of the cylinders,
Correct.
which are not movable, right?
Yes.
And does the new building need to be of a size?
Yes, because the fact that the cylinder is 80 foot long, the cart that is the new system, it needs to be a minimum of 80-something feet long to accommodate it.
So that's all necessitated by the nature of the business that's taken place there since at least 1984.
Yes.
And the area where of the new building, you said that's already being used?
Correct.
As part of the process?
That is part of the roller system that's there now and a parking lot.
I have no further questions of Mr. Ross. I'll have Mr. Mill testify unless any board members have questions of Mr. Ross.
I actually do have a quick question.
Sure.
So I understand that in the existing parking lot, this is where the roller systems are. Where does the wood, do the wood comes in a truck or a trailer?
So
of
we're
some
attached
sort?
to the rail line behind the property. So we actually have most of our wood come in on rail cars, and then we unload the rail cars. The company comes, takes them away, and then new rail cars come in. We do have some that comes in on truck, but very few. It's mostly like rarer selections, like piecemeal product that is.
I guess my question is, with the new building, which is right up to your property line, are you then dependent on what looks like driveway in the next property to be able to load into that space?
No. Currently, on the plan, you can see the way trucks go in, or they go up this drive, and they go this way, and then follow along there to be unloaded. That's the current way it is, and that's the current way it will stay. Everything will still come in on a rail line that is here, and then goes out that way.
And how will once the lumber is pressure treated, how will it be removed from the new building?
The current drip pad that is on this side is completely open on this side and is completely open on this side. When the new buildings are constructed, it will be completely open on this side and completely open on this side. And then the same for this. It will be open on this side and open on this side. Wood will be loaded from this side in and then removed from this side and then go around into our facility.
So there'll be no need to access or to drive onto the adjacent property.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, please.
Sure.
All right, so you're moving the parking lot. How many employees do you have per shift, let's say?
We have currently around 30 employees, and we run one shift right now.
All right, because you are asking for 51 instead of 126 spots. Would you testify that that is sufficient for your operations?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
You're asking to have 51 parking spots instead of 126.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, we're not asking for any relief from zoning or from parking.
Excuse me, Bill. I think you're looking at the wrong petition.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do. Never mind. I'm ahead of myself by one hearing.
But let's just.
I have nothing else.
Let's ask the question though.
So
parking. Tell us about your parking.
So
you're
the parking,
going to lose some parking.
The parking that will be lost from here in the new plan is going to go along this way, drive here. We currently have parking here. that's striped, we're just going to stripe it all the way along, and that's where it's going to move to.
Right. So you already have enough parking, and you're actually not, just for the record, you're not asking for any variances on parking.
Correct.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time.
Natasha?
No.
Bill, do you have any other questions? Bill? He's gone again.
I think we have more testimony to be given.
We do.
Okay,
No, I'm good with the witness.
okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Scott, if you just want to introduce yourself, give your background
Sure.
and your
Good
licensure.
good evening, Scott Mill. I'm a landscape architect with Van Cleef Engineering. I work in our land planning department. I've testified in front of various zoning hearing boards throughout Bucks County. This is my third time here. I guess I should clarify here, not being Middletown, but with Falls. But I also have testified in front of Middletown as well for various industrial, commercial type properties and uses. I've been licensed in Pennsylvania as a landscape architect for over 20 years, and I've been doing this type of work for about 25 years.
And we did submit Mr. Mills' CV as applicant one, and we would ask that he be recognized as an expert in the field of land planning.
I can accept that, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mill, what's the involvement of Van Cleef Engineering with this project?
So we met early on at a kickoff meeting, discussed the needs of the applicant and what they were looking to do. Took a tour of the facilities to get an understanding of what their process was and what needed to be done. Received architectural drawings from them for the building that's being proposed, and worked with them in the positioning and exact location of where the building would be on the site.
Okay. And this property is located in the planned industrial park zoning district, correct?
Correct.
And the present use, production of pressure-treated lumber is permitted by right, correct?
Correct. It falls under the manufacturing use category, and that's a permitted use.
We asked for 3 variances, and I'd like you to kind of point out where these variances are on this plan. The first is under section 209-28F to allow a side yard setback of 4 feet where 20 feet is otherwise required. Where is that?
That's correct. That is, if you look at the lower, I've got 2 pictures up on the board there. The top one is the existing features. The bottom one is the proposed layout. If you look at the bottom one, the east side of the site, you can kind of see 3 segmented building. The center part is the existing building where the cylinders are located. To the east of that is the proposed addition, which is 90-foot by 95-foot footprint. Along the east side of that building, you can see a narrow gap and then a heavier line. That heavier line is the property line. There's a required 20-foot side yard setback, which you can see represented by the dashed line just west of the building. And as this plan laid out and as Mr. Ross attested to, due to the existing facility and the cylinders and the need for the size of this building, it ended up pushing the eastern edge of that proposed building 4 feet from the existing property line.
And we also requested a variance from section 209-28G2 to allow existing parking to remain and for the new building to be located within vegetated buffer along a side property line. Is it that same location for which this variance is needed?
Partially. That is part of it, that existing, or the proposed building line, as well as to the south of it. And this is kind of a interpretive issue. There's a little portion of existing parking that's proposed to remain just to the south of the building. So there's 2 parking spaces there, which if you look up at the upper or the top image, you can kind of see those 2 parking spaces in that area up there. Those are to remain. So it's an existing nonconformity with respect to their position adjacent to the property line.
Okay. And then the third variance is from section 209-42B1, in which we ask to eliminate the requirement that a 10-foot wide buffer of clustered plant material be maintained between existing off-street parking and the side property line. Would that be that same those 2 remaining parking spaces?
Yes, it'd be related to that. And there's also, as Mr. Ross attested to, the relocation of a lot of the parking that's being displaced by the building along a curb line that runs parallel to the southern boundary line, which also acts as the street line. That's an existing curb line. It's about an 8-foot separation from the curb to that right-of-way or property line. Again, it's an existing nonconformity. The original plans for this site had parking in that location. So we're falling in line with that existing nonconformity and with the previously approved plans.
That one first. This is an aerial photo of the site, correct?
That's correct.
And immediately to the east of the where the property next to this one, the property line from which we would be 4 feet away. What is on the other side of that property line?
That is a detention basin to the east. You can see the aerial photograph image up on the screen, kind of a dark, oblong, rectangular type shape, and that would be the water that, when the photograph was taken, the water that was in that detention basin at that time.
And approximately how many feet is there between the side property line and the edge of paving on the adjacent property?
About 100 feet.
So the 4-foot setback would not be encroaching upon any buildings or other structures, correct?
Correct, and there's nothing proposed to extend into that adjacent property to the east. As you've got a fairly steep grade that drops down into the basin, there's actually a fence there too that would help prevent something from rolling down the slope and into the basin.
Taking a look at the other aerial photograph, and this is the one that we marked as Exhibit A2. Can you comment upon the adjacent properties?
Sure.
And the size of this addition relative to the others?
Sure. So you can see the property outlined. It's kind of faint in this zoomed out version, but the faint yellow outline of the site, and then the small square representing the proposed addition. You can see that in size comparison to the large distribution center to the south and the large distribution center to the north as well. And then you have our adjoining property to the east. It's much smaller than that as well, the CSC facilities there.
So comparatively speaking, this is an incredibly small building addition for this area, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that the property is uniquely configured in that the fixtures, including the cylinders, are situated closer to one side property line, which therefore imposes limitations on the ability to modernize this permitted use?
Yes, I would.
And what will the impact upon impervious coverage be?
It would have no impact at all. It's going to be the same amount of impervious. The building that's being proposed is going to be sitting basically on top of the existing concrete pad and parking area, so it will be no net change in impervious.
And will stormwater be appropriately conveyed so as not to have any adverse impact upon adjacent properties?
Yes, and we will work through that through the land development process with your township engineer to get the approvals for that as well.
Great. And will the variances, if granted, alter the essential character of the neighborhood?
No.
Will it impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties?
No.
Will it be detrimental to the public welfare?
No.
And are the variances requested the minimum necessary to afford relief?
Yes.
I have no other questions of Mr. Mill.
Does anybody have any questions?
So this may be a land use question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So you mentioned, so this is about, I did not realize that that was a retention basin immediate to the right of the new building. So the earlier testimony was that the wood comes out of the cylinders and then sits in there to drip and to dry. Does any of that dripping and drying go into the basin, and how do you prevent that?
I think Mr. Ross would probably be better
Sure.
equipped to handle
Yeah.
that.
So on the current area now, where the current drip pad is and building and the new drip pad,
Right.
it's called a drip pad. It's actually a concrete pad that
There's
is
some retention.
that is graded at 2% to go into the building. Under the cylinders actually has what we call a pit. It's a 10-foot basically retention basin that's built into the building that is sealed with an EPDM liner. All the dripping that comes off with the grade goes into that. We collect all of it and we actually pump it and
Put it back
reuse
in.
it.
Yeah.
Nothing goes into the ground. No, nothing's wasted. We reuse it all. We collect from the pit. We take samples to see what's in there, what's needed, and then we create a new mix and reuse it.
And so same thing for this new building, it's going to be tilted
Correct.
and slanted towards
Correct. The new
towards
drip pad
cylinders.
will have a 12-foot concrete slab, which is the drip pad, covered with an EPDM liner, so nothing can get into it. There's a 2% grade, goes all back into the building.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have any questions?
No.
Stasha?
No questions.
Bill?
I have none.
And I don't have any. He actually clarified what I was going to ask about the dripping and stuff, so that's fine.
Gotta stop doing that.
Do I have a oh, excuse me, is anything from the township? Sorry again. Anything from the public? Nothing? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead. I move that the application of UFP Real Estate LLC Sunbelt Forest Products, requesting the following dimensional variances from the following sections of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to construct an addition to the existing production facility. 1, Section 209-28F in Table 5 to allow a side yard of 4 feet where 20 feet is required. Section 209-28G2 to allow existing parking to remain and for the new building to be located within the 10-foot planted vegetated buffer along a side property line. And 3, Section 209-42B1 to eliminate the requirement that a 10-foot wide buffer of clustered plant material be maintained between existing off-street parking and the side property line at the property located at 400 Rock Run Road, Fairless Hills, PA 19030, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Aaron, can you please pull the board?
Of course. Bill,
Yes.
Nastasha,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Laney.
And I'm a yes. You're
Thank you very much.
granted.
Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it is cool and loud.
Petition number 5. 1 New Bold Road LLC. 1 New Bold Road, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 19030, TMP 13-047-123. Zone PIP requesting the following dimensional variances for improvements and upgrades to the existing parking areas. Section 209, Attachment 7, Table 5, to permit maximum impervious coverage of 61.4%, whereas 50% is otherwise permitted. And Section 209-42, parentheses 22, parentheses B, parentheses 1, parentheses 2, to permit 51 total off-street parking spaces, whereas 126 off-street parking spaces is otherwise required. Good evening. Do you have some people that you need to have sworn in that are going to present testimony?
I do, Madam Chair. I have Santiago Urbi, and I also have Gabe Sasso.
Okay.
Gabe, you can stand up. Yeah.
Can you state your full name and spell it, please?
Yes, my first name is Santiago, Santiago. Uribe, Uribe.
Gabriel Sasso, Gabriel Sasso.
Do you both swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
We do.
Uh,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Keith?
Madam Chair, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying addendum. 2 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times, showing this matter was published February 27th, and then again March 5th, 2024. 3 will be a zoning plan submitted by the applicant. 4 is notice to Matthew McHugh and also Leonard Altieri, applicant's attorney, providing notice of tonight's meeting. 5 will be 3 pages containing 3 color photographs, one of which shows the property was posted as required. I've been previously provided a certification of mailings to the adjoining or abutting property owners. I know you're not Mr. McHugh, you're Mr. Altieri, am I pronouncing it right?
That is correct.
All right. All the addresses listed received a notice of the letter that's attached to this pack. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay. I know you already have pre-marked exhibits. It looks like 1 through 7. Can I mark this as A8?
That actually, Counselor, that is actually already in the exhibit packet as tab A7. But if you want to make it, if we want to duplicate it and have it as A8, I'm fine with however you want to handle it, sir.
Okay. I've already written on it, so I'll mark it as A8, as applicant A.
That's
Thank you. That's all the
understood.
exhibits that I have. The appropriate notice have been satisfied, and this matter can proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. My name, for the record, is Leonard Altieri of the law firm of Claire Harrison. I have with me this evening Santiago from Bowler, as well as Gabe, who's the owner's representative. We're here to talk about the property at 1 New Bold Road. As the solicitor indicated prior to this presentation beginning, I did hand up to the board an exhibit packet tabbed A1 through A7. A1 is a copy of the application. A2 is an addendum to our zoning hearing board application. A3 is a copy of the deed. A4 is an aerial/existing conditions plan. A5 is a zoning plan. A5B is a colorized zoning plan that, just essentially shows what it is that we're proposing. A6 is the resume of Santiago, and A7 is a copy of the certificate of mailing. As I noted, we are here today. The subject property, which is 1 New Bold Road, is currently being used as a manufacturing distribution center. We are not here tonight to change the existing use of that property, but instead are here to talk about various upgrades that we're going to be doing to the subject property, which will trigger the need for zoning relief. The improvements and upgrades to the existing to the subject property involve upgrades to the existing parking areas to provide for more efficient and safer circulation of vehicles and trucks within the subject property. Specifically, the applicant intends to increase the existing impervious area on the subject property to provide wider drive aisles, provide additional striped truck and passenger vehicle parking, and also provide for easier circulation throughout the subject property. As will be testified in greater detail by Santiago, one of the areas that we're doing is widening the entrance. We're making that 30 feet to allow for safer ingress and egress inside and out of the property. The applicant is also requesting relief as it involves the off-street parking. Currently, the subject property is an existing nonconformity. Essentially, what we have at the subject property is just an asphalt area, if you will. There's no striped parking on the subject property whatsoever. What the applicant is intending to do is to stripe that parking to provide for 13 spots to plan north of that application or under the plan. We're also proposing to construct 25 parking spaces, which will be adjacent to the main entrance of the parking lot. Additionally, 23 tractor-trailer parking spaces that'll be to the rear of that property. Altogether, it'll be 51 striped passenger vehicle off-street parking spaces. Additionally, what the applicant will be doing is there's no stormwater management on the subject property at all. So what the applicant is planning to do is to bring this into conformity with the stormwater ordinance. So we're going to be doing some stormwater improvements as well. So overall, high level, broad strokes, we're making improvements to this property. Again, right now it's a bunch of existing nonconformities, and what the client and the applicant plan to do is to stripe that, give some improvements with regards to stormwater, and make it a more efficient and safer circulation of the overall property. I do have, again, and we'll run through it pretty quickly. I'll turn it over to Santiago now to kind of give an overview of the property. From an engineering perspective, he can do a lot better job than how this lawyer just tried to explain that. But I'll turn it over to him, and he can kind of do an explanation of the property.
Sure, thank you, Leonard. So as Leonard mentioned, yes, it's an existing use. We're not here to really change the use. We are coming in to provide the adequate parking for the use, as well as increase the impervious to allow for a little bit more room for the tractor trailers circulation in and around the existing building. Just to clarify, we are not changing the existing building. The existing building will remain as is today. We're even looking to maintain most of the existing access points, doors, locations, utilities, a lot of that, as much as we can. One quick, I guess, correction would be that the amount of parking spaces along the top, along the north there, would be 26. It's 2 rows of 13 spaces, with the addition of the parking bay area of 25 along the front of the building near Newbold Road, and then with the 23 trailer parking spaces along the rear. As Leonard mentioned, we will be going through the township process for land development. We have not started that yet, but we will be going in there, and we're intending to meet all their stormwater requirements and go through the process as needed.
If I can just jump in there. With those, so what Santiago's looking at is tabbed A5 and A5B. For ease of the board, I apologize for not noting that before we got started. Santiago, with regards to the improvements that you just mentioned there are 2 variances that we're requesting this evening. The first one is Section 209, Attachment 7, Table 5, which is to permit the maximum impervious coverage of 61.4%, where 50% is otherwise permitted. I think you touched on it, but can you just flesh that, the rationale behind that variance?
Yes, absolutely. So right now, the requirement on the township for this property is 50%. The existing condition is at just under that. I think it's 49.9, so it's really right at the limit. The requirement for the increase is, like I stated, we are adding that additional parking bay along the front near Newbold Road, as well as expanding the asphalt along the rear of the building, opposite of Newbold Road on the rear, to add those additional trailer parking spaces and additional loading area around the building, which brings up our impervious coverage to about 61.4%, which is the variance we're asking relief for tonight.
And I kind of touched on it in the beginning, but also the entranceway into the subject property we're widening as well?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. And we're doing that for safety reasons to make it easier for ingress and egress?
That's right.
Perfect. The second variance that we're seeking this evening is Section 208-42, subsections 22B12, which relate to the total number of all-street parking. We are asking to put in 51 total all-street parking spaces, whereas 126 all-street parking spaces is otherwise permitted. Can you explain to the board?
Yes. So as it is today, the site has no striped parking spaces. So really the number is 0 today in terms of like designated parking spaces for personal vehicles. We are coming in and proposing the 51 parking spaces I noted, with the 26 along the top of the property, with the 25 along the front near Newbold Road.
Perfect. I have no other questions for Santiago. If there's any questions from the board. Actually, I do want to ask one other thing. We touched briefly on the stormwater. Can you just go over the stormwater that's being done to the site?
Yes. So we are intending to comply with the stormwater requirements as we go through the land development process with the township. Right now, we're looking at the rear of the property, where there's more green area to look, and we're exploring both options, whether it's underground or above ground. Still trying to work out the connection points that's going to be along Newbold Road or real near the property line frontage along the ramp, the highway ramp.
And it's fair to say that the existing site right now has no stormwater management on it?
There are no formal controls on that property right now, so we will be looking to bringing in something in compliance with the township ordinance and land development process.
Now I promise, Madam Chair, that I have no more questions for this witness if there's any from the board.
That was the question I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
I have
Go
a
ahead,
question
Bill.
on the parking. How many employees do you presently employ?
So if you want, sir, that's a great question. If you don't mind, I can have the next witness, which is Mr. Sasso, answer that, or we can just have him answer it right now as well.
So currently, first of all, this is not a building that we are a real estate developer. Okay, so we lease this building out to a tenant. They have about 10 or 12 people in there right now. Their lease is expiring at the end of this year. We're looking to make these improvements at the beginning of next year in light of bringing in a new tenant after that. There's about 12,000 square feet of office space in there currently. So I'm not exactly sure what that can fit in terms of the number of people, but the number of spaces we're putting in here is going to probably exceed, based on our experience with industrial buildings, any amount of personnel that they would have in there.
So you're testifying that the 51 spaces should be sufficient instead of 126?
Absolutely.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Is there only one way in and out of this property?
That is correct.
There is an existing loading. There's additional loading bays along the front facade of the building, along New Bold Road, which we are proposing to maintain. So that would be the only other access to the property.
So the tractor trailers coming in and out are going in through the same,
So partially, some of them will access like they do today along that front facade of the building. The majority, which will be coming in from the new access point and maneuvering around the rear of the building.
are you anticipating the new renter to have many trucks being stored on the property?
So this building only has, I think it's 5, am I correct on that? Loading bays on the front. And there are 3 drive-in doors, which are small drive-in doors on the other side of the building. It's not really set up as a, distribution facility, if that's what your concern might be. This would probably be more of a manufacturing, kind of like what it is today, along with some distribution. But, we obviously would want to maintain our whatever use is allowed for the property going forward. But I would think that the parking in the back for the trailers is going to be just for storage for trailers. I don't foresee a high use of tractor trailers in and out of here. It's too small a building.
But you're making them so that you can park tractor.
So what typically happens, especially with manufacturing, is that they'll have tractor trailers sitting there with various product in it, that they draw on as they need to, or they'll fill it up, but it might take 2 weeks to fill up that tractor trailer before it gets pulled off site. The ability to have more parking back there just makes it more usable for those tenants.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So again, I have no more questions for the engineer. If there's no more questions
No,
from
that
the board.
was the last question I had. Did anybody else have any questions for the engineer?
Perfect. I'll just call up Mr. Sasso just to go over the, can you just state your name and title for the board?
Gabriel Sasso, Vice President Development.
And you're authorized to speak on behalf of the applicant?
I am.
And you've been present during the testimony of Mr. Uraby?
I have.
And is everything that he testified true and accurate to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
It is.
Perfect. Any questions for Mr. Sasso?
I think he answered the one that we had. Is there anybody else who has any questions for Mr. Sasso? Is there anything from the township? Thank you. I don't see any public, so would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move that the application of One New Bold Road LLC, requesting the following dimensional variances from the following sections of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to allow for improvements and upgrades to the existing parking areas. 1, Section 209, Attachment 7, Table 5, to permit maximum impervious coverages of 61.4%, whereas 50% is otherwise permitted. And 2, Section 209, 4222B1, 2, to permit 51 total off-street parking spaces, whereas 126 off-street parking spaces is otherwise required, at the property located at 1 New Bold Road, Fairless Hills, PA 19030, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Karen, can you please pull the board?
Yes. Bill?
Yes.
Nastasha?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Laney?
And I'm a yes. You've been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Do I have a motion to
Motion
adjourn
to
the
adjourn.
meeting? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right.